Perspective on Florida Gateway College Television is sponsored by Nutrien. Nutrien, feeding the future.
Everyone, and welcome to Perspective. This is a public affairs presentation of Florida Gateway College. My name is Mike McKee, and my guests on today's program represent the theater department at Columbia High School. And we're going to be talking about what it takes to put on a play. We're going to actually do a scene from the play that's coming up at Columbia High School called Fiddler on the Roof. We'll do that when we come back. Don't go away. You're watching Perspective on FGC TV.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma. I have a mentor, and she convinced me to continue my education.
No one receives a diploma alone.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Welcome back to Perspective on FGC TV, and also welcome to the listeners on WQHL and WCJX Radio for being a part of our program today. Crystal Free is the theater director of the theater department at Columbia High School. We have Ratul Khan and John Barrett, who star in the upcoming play Fiddler on the Roof, and we appreciate you guys being on the program today.
Thank you, Mike.
I believe this is a first. I think this is the first time we've had the theater group from Columbia High School on the play, on the show to promote a play. First of all, Crystal, you've been doing this for how long?
Well, I've been teaching for 25 years, and I've always tried to put theater in everything that I've taught, but I've only been teaching 100% theater for the last 4 years at Columbia High School.
Now, what's that like? I would think it would be almost like a product that you're making, or a baby it's your baby, and then the night of the show is when everybody gets to see the baby.
It really is. You know, I've had 2 babies, and sometimes the agony that's involved in putting on a play is like childbirth. And you know, my husband would say that I spend as much time at school as I spend at home with our own children. Oh, wow.
So let's talk about, you've done how many plays at Columbia High School? Probably
16, I think.
16. The latest being Murder at the Malt Shop.
That's correct. We did Murder at the Malt Shop as a mystery dinner theater along with the culinary students at Columbia High School. They did the dinner and we did the show. That was in January.
Now you have a core group of young people that, I mean, how old is the oldest and how young is the youngest? I mean, do you have freshmen in the show?
I have freshmen in the play, so 14 through 18-year-olds.
Now, not everybody's a great actor. How do you determine? I mean, you know, it's kind of hard because you don't want to bruise anybody's ego, especially when in the formative years of high school.
And actors have big egos.
Well, yeah, you would think being in front of people, and these 2 guys over here are smiling like they don't. But
well, they have been through the audition process several times. They both of them are veteran actors, even though they're in high school. They've been in a lot of plays. But we do have an audition process, and if it's a regular straight play, then sometimes they'll do a cold reading from the script, or sometimes they will have to share a monologue. If it's an audition for a musical, then they'll have to do a dance audition, as well as singing a song and showing their acting abilities. Well, and usually I have a committee of people that help me make that decision. I don't like to do that decision by myself.
Good move, because you don't want to make anybody mad. But Ratul and John, let me ask you guys, what's it like to audition for a part, especially like Fiddler on the Roof, which was probably written years before you guys were even born. What was it like for you, Ratul?
For me, it was very exciting. I felt like I brought something new to the judges because one of them started clapping, which means you did a good job. And I really felt like that.
Now, this play involves, John, accents. Yeah. It takes place in Europe. But talk about that. I mean, that's something that you either have or you don't, or you have to work on it. Talk about working on that accent.
It takes a lot of practice. Before the audition, I had to study how to do a Russian and a Jewish accent, combined. And once you get a hang of it, you just keep practicing and practicing, and it'll just keep getting better.
Now, did you ever see the movie with Zero Mostel?
Yes.
So, Ratul, have you seen the movie as well?
I've seen Some clips of it.
Clips of it.
It's really good.
Yeah, and of course they don't do the Broadway show anymore, but it was on Broadway for many, many years. John, you play a character, but you've been in a couple plays as well in this one. What has been some of your favorite roles to play in the shows that you've done so far?
Last year we did Sister Act, and I played Curtis, I think his last name was Lepore, and he was the antagonist in that, so
he got to play a bad guy.
Yes. Hercules Porkchop in the last year's Mystery Dinner play. He was a French like detective, so that was fun to play, and probably this year Tevye, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and we're going to talk. You guys are going to do a scene in a little bit. Ratul, what about you? What are some of the memorable characters that you've played?
I played a lot of really fun roles. My first ever role was playing a pirate, which I felt like I was really good for. And I also played a mine manager who was really crazy, and which really reflects upon my acting, because I've been said to be really crazy and overdramatic.
Now, is that a good thing to be overdramatic, or do people just say you're overdramatic?
People say I am, but I think it's good if you're on the stage, because if you're on the stage, you need people to see you since they're watching from afar.
Okay, well, let me ask both of you. Getting in front of people scares the heck out of most people. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have students that take speech here at Florida Gateway College that are scared to death about getting in front of their peers of maybe 30 people. Now, I don't know how many the theater holds at
That's actually the #1 fear in America is public speaking.
Well, and I'm sure acting or being on stage and forgetting your lines is another thing. But what's it like being in front of a lot of people? It's not something you do every day.
It is very nerve-wracking. I admit that, but once you've done it so many times, sometimes you just forget, like, oh, there's people out there. It's just like you're just playing the character and you get lost in it sometimes. So. What
about you, Ratul? I mean, I remember a Brady Bunch episode years ago where if you were having to speak in front, just imagine everybody was in their underwear, and so you never think that. Do you do something? Is there something that you put out of your mind, or you don't even think the audience is there?
Well, I think the audience is there, and I really love to perform for them. Like, I want to bring them the unexpected and the unthinkable so they could enjoy our show and pretty much make my name out there, because I want to be acknowledged as one of the greatest actors.
Well, Crystal, now, what about producing a show like this? What is the timeline for doing a show like this? Is it like 6 weeks or?
Well, if it's a straight play which is a non-musical play, then I would say you need a good 2 months. For a musical, I would say you need at least a good 3 months to really do a good job in producing a full-length musical.
Now, are you going to have a band, or is this going to be tracks?
We are. Some shows we've done, we've used tracks, but at CHS we have an awesome band, Columbia High School, and it's mainly members of the jazz band, but they have to audition just like my actors do, and they will be performing live with each show.
And so those have to be in rehearsal. Talk about that now. You got to figure out who's going to be in the play. Then you've got to do certain scenes. Is that how it works?
Right. So we do auditions about 3 months before production date, and then I make a rehearsal schedule, and we break it down scene and song by scene and song. And we will rehearse separately first, and then we just now this week have started rehearsing with the songs with the band, and then eventually, and also during that time scenery is being made and costumes are being made, and there's so many other aspects of theater besides just the acting too.
Well, let me ask you that then. You've got different plays require different scenes, and it also requires an imagination, because you can't. It's not like a movie where you can show an explosion and you can post-edit it, or you can do a cartoon character or something where you do post-editing. This is all live.
Live.
And so when do you start in your mind thinking, all right, this set needs to look like this, we can do this, or do you have someone that thinks through that?
Well, I think of those things months in advance. Sometimes they wake me up in the middle of the night thinking about how I'm going to do a certain thing. But I have a student, almost everything is student run and student directed. Me and one other person are pretty much the only adults that are involved in the process. So one of my students is a set designer and stage manager, and so she will be the one that does most of the planning when it comes to the scenery. Have somebody else that's the prop master in charge of all the things, the props that we use, somebody else in charge of makeup, somebody else in charge of costumes, somebody else in charge of what we call the house with ticketing and publicity and concessions, all of those things.
And again, this is a major fundraiser.
It is.
Talk about that, and I got the two guys know this as well, that it's not easy to put a play on. You just don't grab a script from Broadway and do a script unless you have a talented person who can write a show. But then, it's not going to probably be as popular as something like a musical that was on Broadway. Talk about the cost to you,
okay,
or to you as an organization to put one of these things on.
Right. It's not easy and it's not cheap at all by any means. We have to secure the rights to be able to perform a published play.
And those are by the number of audiences, number of people you expect to have in an audience, right?
Correct. And it depends too on how popular the show is too. Like if you want to do a Disney show, you might have to spend thousands of dollars before you ever get started just on securing the rights and the royalties and renting the scripts, that kind of thing. And then there's of course all the costs involved in making scenery and making costumes and buying props and those kind of things. And there are a lot of schools that don't have theater programs at all, but even though we have a great theater program at Columbia High School, we still have to spend a lot of money and raise it ourselves. So every show that we do goes to fund the next show that we do. And we don't get any kind of money from the school or from the school board, so it's all self-funded. So we constantly are doing fundraisers and shows to produce other shows.
All right, so think about that when you're buying your ticket and supporting the Columbia County Theater or the Columbia High School Theater Department, that the money you spend not only is not going, we're not paying the students to be in the play, although I'm sure they wish they were paid for that, but it is to produce the show. Guys, we're going to have you do a segment or a little scene, we're going to have you stand up and do a scene when we come back, and we'll discuss Fiddler on a Roof a little bit more when we come back. You're watching Perspective on FGC TV.
I'm Jenny Garth, and as a mother of 3, I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. But here in America, that is a real worry for 1 in 5 children. This is unacceptable, and something Feeding America is working to solve. Through a nationwide network of food banks, Feeding America serves virtually every community in the United States, including yours. See how you can help your community. Visit feedingamerica.org. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America.
Welcome back to Perspective on Florida Gateway College Television. Again, welcome to the listeners on WQHL and WCJX Radio. My guests are all part of the production of Fiddler on the Roof at Columbia High School, which is taking place April 11th, 12th, and 13th at the Norman Choice Theater at Columbia High School. We have 2 of the main characters in the play Fiddler on the Roof, John Barrett and Ratul Khan. They're going to do a little bit of a scene from that show. So guys, remember, kind of use your inside voice. I know as performers, you have to project to the audience, as thespians do, but you're going to do a little scene. What are we going to see?
This is the scene where Laser asked Tevye for his daughter's hand in marriage, and this is where Tevye is kind of debating, and then he decides to agree.
Okay, and so just so the viewers at home, they're not going to see you dance around because there's a lot of dancing and overacting, or not overacting, but what we're talking about. So go ahead, let us see the best of what they can expect on the 11th, 12th, and 13th at Columbia High School.
Ah, Tevye, you're here. Have a drink.
Good evening, Red Blazer. I won't insult you by saying no.
So, how goes it with you, Tevye?
Same as usual. And you?
Right. You're right. The same.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So, how's your brother-in-law in America?
I believe he's doing very well.
He wrote you?
Not lately.
Then how do you know?
If he was doing badly, he would write. May I?
Tevye, I suppose you know why I wanted to see you.
Yes, I do. But there's no use talking about it, Red Blazer.
Why not?
Why, yes. Why should I get rid of her?
Well, you have plenty more without her.
I see. Today you want 1, tomorrow you may want 2.
2? What would I do with 2?
The same as you do with 1.
Tevye, this is very important to me.
Why is it so important to you?
Frankly, because I am lonesome.
Lonesome? What are you talking about?
You don't know.
We're talking about my new milk cow, the one you want to buy from me.
A milk cow, so I won't be lonesome?
What's so funny?
I am talking about your daughter Zeitel.
My daughter Zeitel?
Of course your daughter Zeitel. I see her every Thursday in my butcher shop, and she's made a very good impression on me. A very good impression. Reb Tevye, I like her. Why don't we just shake hands on it and call it a match? And you won't need a dowry for her. And maybe you'll find something in your own purse too, and...
Shame! Shame on you! What do you mean, my purse? My Zeitel's not the sort I sell for money.
All right. We won't talk about money. The main thing is, let's get it done with. And I'll be good to her, Tevye. I like her. What do you think?
What do I think? What do I think? I never liked him. Why should I? I mean, you can have a fine conversation with him if you talk about kidneys and livers. On the other hand, not everyone has to be a scholar. If you're wealthy enough, no one will call you stupid. And with a butcher, my daughter will surely never know hunger. But he has a problem. He's much older than her. That's her problem. But she's younger. That's his problem. I always thought of him as a butcher. But I misjudged him. He's a good man. He likes her. He will try to make her happy. So what do I think? It's a match.
You agree?
I agree.
Oh, Tevye! It's wonderful. You made me a happy man. Let's drink on it.
Why not? To you.
No, my friend, to you.
To the both of us.
To our agreement.
To our agreement. To our prosperity. To good health and happiness. And most important, to life, l'chaim. L'chaim, to life. Here's to the father I try to be.
Here's to my bride to be.
Drink l'chaim, to life, l'chaim. L'chaim, to life. Life has a way of confusing us.
Blessing and bruising us.
Drink l'chaim to life. God would like us to be joyful, even with our hearts fly panting on the floor.
How much more can we be joyful when there's really something to be joyful for?
To life, l'chaim. To Zeitel, my daughter.
My wife. It gives you something to think about.
Something to drink about.
Drink l'chaim to life!
And that's it.
Awesome. Yeah,
Well, that's actually not it. But from there, this song goes on to a really big scene where the Jewish townspeople are pretty much having a dance-off with the Russian soldiers. So it's a really cool song, and that was one of my favorite scenes from the show.
Well, and how long did you guys have to practice that before you, I mean, was it just you two in a room where you talked back and forth, or?
No, it's with everybody there.
So, okay.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get those lines down?
It took me a couple weeks. I don't know about Ratul here, but...
I usually am off book. One time I was off book on the first day of a rehearsal, so it wasn't really that bad. It was a piece of cake, and I enjoyed it.
Right. So you look at this play and you see some of the language that was used, and you mentioned dowry and those type of things. Was that kind of like, that's not something we talk about in 2019. Did you have to kind of learn that, guys? What that meant?
Some of the words we had to learn, you know. I kind of knew what a dowry was, but other things like a czar was, I didn't know what that was or anything like that. So. Well,
what about you, Ratul? Because you guys are not. In fact, I don't even know they're guys, and maybe they do. It's been 36 years since I asked my father-in-law if I could marry his daughter, so I don't know whether that's even done today. Is young guys asking fathers for their daughter's hand? Still?
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I'm still catching up on this language. I'm not really sure what it means yet, but I am still working on it. I'm still learning, and he's helping me too.
Yeah.
The whole cast and I have learned a lot about Jewish traditions and Jewish dances during this play, and the dances are very difficult.
When was this play written?
I'm not sure when it was written, but it first came out on Broadway in 1964, I think, and won like 20 Tony Awards. And then it's come out on Broadway, I think, 3 more times and won more Tonys. And then I think it also won like 3 Academy Awards when it was the movie version. And I think that was in 1971, the movie.
You know, and that's amazing that you have a play that is that popular. And again, the difference between a play and a movie is your imagination kind of, you don't need as much imagination, right, guys, when you're watching a movie, because there are scenes where they maybe are set in the actual place.
Yeah.
Can't do that on a stage at Columbia High School. So talk a little bit about that, John, if you would, when you're watching a play, and I know you've seen Broadway shows before, the more you are taken away into a fantasy land, the better, right? If you can bring that to the stage, it's something else.
Yeah. As you said, I've seen Broadway shows, and like you realize like how simplistic like the set is sometimes, and then you just realize like, whoa, you actually feel like you're at a place with using your imagination and not just like watching a place on screen and just like, oh, it's there and all that. So.
Now, Crystal, when you're designing the stage or the scenery, how are you taking? Are you hoping this is believable, or are you hoping that this looks like a cave, or this looks like the roof of a house, or?
We try to make it, believable, but at the same time, we know that the audience has to use their imagination. It's what we call suspended belief, and so, we try to make it realistic, but you have to use your imagination whenever you go to the theater and just picture. And plus, our stage is only so big, and we have such a large cast. I think there are 34 students in this production, just the cast.
Now
so when they're all on stage dancing.
Tell me about managing that many high school kids.
Well, I have to be kind of strict, and I also have a student director, Jordan Thorison. She's the student director for the show, and she also, when you sign up to be a student director, you realize that you might sometimes lose friends because you have to be tough on them and get on their case when they don't know their lines and they don't remember their lyrics and that kind of thing. So you got to be firm, but I think that all of them that make a commitment to the show, and they and their parents are required to sign a cast contract. When they do that, I think they realize that it's all for the sake of the show, and it's a big commitment.
Now, if someone out there is watching this, or if there's a parent watching this program today, and they think maybe their young person would be interested in joining the theater department, or is it a club or is it a theater department?
It's both. I teach all of the theater classes at Columbia High School, and then I also am the drama club sponsor. So if they were interested, then they would just need to sign it. When they sign up for their classes, they would want to take Theater 1. That's the first level. And that's where they learn about just the basics of acting, the structure of a play, theater terminology, some basic stuff. And then those that want to go a little deeper and get more into the technical aspects of theater, they take the next level, which is Theater 2, where they learn about set design and construction, makeup, costuming, sound and lights, those kind of things. And then my honors students are my level 3 and 4, Theater 3 and 4 students, and they study directing and producing plays and playwrights and that kind of thing.
So if they wanted a career, this might be a good start to see whether they'd be interested in doing something like this.
It might be, and I do have at least one student that I've taught before that is in Hollywood doing that. But even if, that's rare that you find a student that actually goes on and does theater or Hollywood movies as a career. But even if that never happens, there's so many things that you can learn in my class to use in everyday life. You know, things like sewing. There's so many kids that don't, there's so many adults even that don't know how to sew anymore. And how to the business aspect of things when it comes to publicity and ticketing and that kind of stuff. Learning how to use tools and in the construction aspect of it. Makeup. I have one student that is an intern right now at a salon, and she's probably going to go into cosmetology. And even just the basics of learning how to get over stage fright, being able to talk to people in a job interview. All of those things are important lessons that they can learn in theater class, even if they never, you know, make it big and become a star in Hollywood.
So what would be the thing that you would suggest to maybe a middle school kid who comes to see your play and is interested in doing this? Is there something you need to be good at? And memorizing lines obviously is one thing. If you can't memorize lines, then this is probably not your cup of tea. But what would you...
Well, if they're a middle schooler, one of the first things I recommend is that they come to our theater camp that we have, and we have it for middle and high school during the summer in July. And they learn we have like a different focus each day, like one day's acting, one day's dance, one day's makeup, that kind of thing. And they can just get exposed to it and meet some of the students in my program. And then if they enjoy that, then they'd want to sign up to take Theater 1, you know, as a class. And we do some performances in class as well. In addition to the big plays, they do things like lip syncs and monologues and small group scenes, and where they perform just before a small group of just the class. And then the big productions they have to audition for to be able to perform in front of the entire community.
Are you going to announce the next show that you're going to do?
Sure.
Right now?
I can.
Oh, okay. Because our theater director here at Florida Gateway College wasn't going to let us know.
Oh, you mean the next show after Fiddler on the Roof?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, it's all right. So I tried, Todd,
sorry.
I couldn't get it out.
I'm not sure I even know because there's a lot of things going on in my head.
Well, I know you're going to have to figure out how you're going to do on this box office too,
right,
to find out what you're going to be able to afford.
Exactly.
And we hope that you'll go to the show. We're going to take our last break on the program, and when we come back, we'll give you details on how you can make a donation to the theater department at Columbia High School. How you can get tickets to this show, April 11th, 12th, and 13th at Columbia High School. We'll do that when we come back. You're watching Perspective on Florida Gateway College Television.
1 in 3 adults has pre-diabetes. That means it could be you, your favorite brother, your other brother, you, your boss, your boss's boss, you, your barber, your barber's barber.
Nice work.
Thanks.
Or you, your co-pilot, your co-pilot's co-pilot. With early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Welcome back to the final segment of Perspective on Florida Gateway College Television. My guests all are part of the production, the Hollywood production, well actually the theater, Broadway theater production of Fiddler on the Roof at Columbia High School. Crystal Free is the theater director and instructor and all things theater at Columbia High School. Crystal, if someone is interested in the theater that wants to do a little philanthropy, do they write the check out to Columbia High School?
Columbia High School Drama.
Columbia High School Drama, if that's the way they want to participate. Otherwise, you'd appreciate them coming to the show, right?
Absolutely. We have 5 shows, April 11th, 12th, and 13th.
There we go. Look at your screen there. And for those at home, 7 o'clock on the 11th. You have a 10 o'clock show on the 12th and a 7 o'clock show. And then April 13th, which I believe is a Saturday, is 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock. And the cost is really minimal.
It is. It's cheap. It's cheaper than a movie and way better. Right,
and you're going to get the chance to see maybe your classmate. You see these 2 stars here, and you probably get their autograph after the show. But onstage.com show, Columbia High School, Fiddler on the Roof is the website, and you can get all the information about this show.
Right, and these guys will also have paper tickets for sale after spring break.
Okay, and so if you want to get tickets to any of the show, I'm sure any cast member has tickets to the show. So wish you the most success with this. I know you can't go wrong with Fiddler on the Roof.
It's a great show, and we're looking forward to it. Thank you for having us here today.
You're very welcome, and thank you guys for performing for us today. And thank you for watching Perspective on Florida Gateway College Television. Until next time, I'm Mike McKee. So long.